Hi everyone. In this video, I am going to explain you about our major project analysis on global waste management. The group members are Abhishek Tavaskar, Jobin John, and Patrick Daniel. The supervisor for our project was Dr. Owen Whelan. Proper management of waste is critical in any place as it's important for the environmental and mankind's safety. When you make sure that your garbage is properly disposed of, you make a contribution to less environmental pollutants, thereby enabling good health of living beings. Apart from human beings, other living creatures are too affected by improper waste management. An article by The Guardian stated that mismanaged waste kills up to 1 million people every year globally. Also, when it comes to marine life, over 1 million seabirds and 100,000 sea mammals are killed by pollution every year. In order to analyze the waste generation, management and mismanagement, we have considered few factors such as income level of the country, GDP of the country, literacy rate, laws and regulations on waste management policy, population of the country, total municipal solid waste generated. For analyzing the same, we collected data sets from data sources such as World Bank blogs, Our World in a Data, Water Waste, and OECD. By looking at this comparison between nations belonging to different income levels, laws and regulations seems to be strictly implemented across nations belonging to high income level group as compared to other income level countries. But we can still see that the few countries in high income level group are still lenient about laws and regulations. Now, this graph depicts China as one of the major countries which mishandles the waste the country generates. Although USA has the top GDP in the world, it's not responsible for the worst waste mass management practices. Another example that supports the fact that GDP is not actually a factor to be considered for management of waste is India. Though India is among the top 10 countries with highest GDP, its waste management practices are not on par with other countries with GDP not as that of India. Throughout the box plot, countries with different GDP and mismanagement are scattered at random. There exists no pattern in the correlation between GDP and waste mismanagement. Hence, it is either a weak or no correlation, and so there is no statistically significant correlation between the GDP of a country and its waste mismanagement. If you look at the expenditure and GDP comparison here, we can see that though Korea's GDP is just 1/3 as compared to Germany and just half of that of France, Korea spends way more than what other countries spend on waste treatment. Now, here are the countries that are responsible for highest rate of waste mismanagement in the order of large fonts to small fonts. Now, when it comes to literacy, it has an inverse effect on waste management and is clearly evident from the graph below. Reasons for this catastrophe could be due to industrialization or modernization through education. The countries with high literacy focus on innovation and technological development and haven't really paid much attention to the high amounts of waste generation and as a result neglected to monitor its management efficiently. The countries with low literacy rate can effectively take care of the waste they generate. Comparatively, less urbanization or good waste management system could be the reason for this required outcome. Moreover, the countries which are completely literate show low mismanagement of waste supposedly because they have achieved stability and are sustained in every aspect that makes them a developed nation, and hence they also established in managing their waste. By looking at this comparison between nations belonging to different income levels, laws and regulations seems to be strictly implemented across nations belonging to high income level group as compared to other income level countries. But we can still see that few countries in high income level group are still lenient about laws and regulations. As shown here, the dots represent waste generated and the color intensity represents different countries and the population. So, we can infer that China, India, and United States have the maximum population. At the same time, we can also see that waste generation is high in these regions. So, we can conclude here by saying that these three countries contribute towards the highest waste generation. Also, this graph shows that more GDP is directly proportional to the waste generated in any country because of industrialization and the people living there. From this plotting, we can see that the maximum waste generated per capita per day is of Kuwait, that is 5.72 kg, whereas Ghana has the lowest, that is 0.09 kg. We will be further investigating on the factors responsible for the same and thus deciding on factors to minimize the same. This insight shows the countries that are contributing majorly towards waste generation. The scale of waste generation is on the right. From this figure, it is very evident that China, India, and the USA are the major contributors of total waste generated in the world. Now, let us learn the waste composition in different countries. We can see clearly from the waste visualization that the food waste contributes to most of the waste generation, following the plastic and other types of waste. The food waste contributes to 1.3 billion tons per year. This food waste is mostly dumped openly in most of the Asian countries by the restaurants, which causes issues with its management. It causes harmful polluted gases and diseases once it gets rotted. Now, if we look at waste collected by countries based on their income group, waste collection rate is high in high income level countries. For example, in USA it's almost 100%. At the same time, in lower middle income countries and low income countries, only 40 to 50% of the waste is collected. The time series data of member countries in Eurostat was updated based on the national and international sources. OECD is the organization that collects the environmental data that is spread across a range of governments. The data analysis gives clear understanding about the treatment of waste like incineration, recycling, composting, etc. percentages over the period of years from 1980 towards 2016. The incineration level was the highest during the years 1986, which went up to 71%. The level stabilized and lower during the 90s and steadily increasing with the increase in the population and modernization. The waste disposal globally over the years is shown here, where most of the countries use landfill as their primary waste disposal mechanism. In lower income countries, the waste is openly dumped, which is one of the reasons why the waste is not managed properly. As countries flourish financially, Scondo is overseen utilizing increasingly feasible strategies. Development and utilization of landfills is ordinarily the initial step towards supportable waste administration. Composting and incineration are other ways considered for the disposal. The data is further analyzed to generate forecasts for the future values to year 2022, which shows that the incineration spikes up again and their steady increment in the recycling and material recovery to around 50%, which we could relate to the current situation of recycling materials used nowadays. So, we would like to conclude by saying that the environment condition today is critical and the species dependent on it are facing near extinction as a result of waste mismanagement over the years. This catastrophe can be countered by a perfect waste management system. The analysis we conducted can depict a clear understanding of the waste management practices by each country associated with laws and regulations and other factors influencing the overall waste generation, management, and mismanagement. This in turn can help each country follow the successfully deployed and implemented strategies of certain countries to help attain the best possible waste management it can, which can drastically reduce the further damage caused to the ecosystem in the upcoming years. Since waste generation is an uncontrollable factor, the other factors that can be considered as areas of improvement. The analysis will help them take the first step towards advancement and raise awareness regarding the sensitive but unaddressed topic. Every individual is a part of the ecosystem, and every country is contributing to its downfall, and it is the collective responsibility that will sustain and improve the environment in terms of waste management. And last but not least, we sincerely thank Dr. Dennis Denny, Dr. Michael Lang, and Dr. Owen Willen for the constant guidance and support throughout the project and course.